Wearing a seatbelt is always a must when riding in a car. In fact, 49 out of the 50 states require you to wear a seatbelt. Hello, my name is Sydney Parker. Today I will talk about the laws for wearing a seatbelt, the results of not wearing a seatbelt, and the solution to ensure people wear one. According to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, there are a few different laws for seatbelt requirements. There are two different categories when it comes to these laws. There are primary and secondary laws. There are laws for seatbelts in every state but New Hampshire. Primary laws allow officers to pull over drivers and issue tickets because passengers and drivers are not wearing a seatbelt. So you can be pulled over just because you are not wearing a seatbelt. Secondary laws allow officers to issue tickets for seatbelt violations for drivers that have been pulled over for another offense, such as speeding. So you can get a ticket for speeding and another ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Laws vary in every state, but in every state, all adults must wear a seatbelt in the front seat besides New Hampshire. Also, there are different age requirements for every state when it comes to backseat laws. If you live in the state of North Carolina, each occupant of a motor vehicle that has seatbelts shall have a seatbelt properly fastened at all times when the vehicle is moving forward on a street or highway in North Carolina. All drivers and passengers age 16 and older must wear their seatbelt in the front and back seat. Children less than 16 years old are to be restrained in an age, weight, and height appropriate restraint like a seatbelt or a car seat. Children age 5 and less than 40 pounds must be restrained in the back seat. Now that we know the laws for not wearing a seatbelt, let's talk about what can happen if you don't wear a seatbelt. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, one of the safest things passengers and drivers can do is wear a seatbelt. Many Americans don't understand the life-saving value of a seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt in the front seat of a car can limit your chances of fatal injury by 50% and deaths by 45%. This statistic alone shows how much a seatbelt can save your life. But if that doesn't convince you, also wearing a seatbelt in a crash limits the risk of critical injuries by 60%. Again, wearing a seatbelt in a crash limits the risk of critical injuries by 60%. Because 90% of Americans use a seatbelt in a car, 15,000 lives are saved every year. That is a big number. Now that we know what can happen if you don't wear a seatbelt, how can we convince everyone to wear one? According to the attorney Steve Lee, teenagers and young adults have the highest crash and traffic violation rate of any group. Teens and young adults age 13 to 20 have the worst record for using a seatbelt. Me and my friends fall in this category. The best thing we can do is promote awareness, reinforce good behavior, denounce bad behavior, and emphasize consequences. Parents should encourage seatbelt use before their children are old enough to drive. Modeling safe behavior can increase your child's chance of surviving a crash. At a young age, teens and young adults tend to do what they want, so this can be a hard but necessary lesson to learn. Now that we know how to get everyone to wear a seatbelt, let's review. Wearing a seatbelt is very important when riding in a vehicle to keep you safe, and 49 out of 50 states require all adults to wear them. There are many laws for seatbelt requirements, and there are many consequences for not wearing one, including serious injury or death. There are many ways to get people to wear one, so protect the ones you love and build good seatbelt habits. There are thousands of people who die from not wearing a seatbelt in a crash every year. With the statistics we have today, everyone of all ages should wear a seatbelt, regardless of whether or not it is the law. Safety should always be the priority.